We are live as we travel the uphill road, coming to you from Black Bottom, number one Detroit. We thank God that we have survived and now have arrived at the last stop. Living with reality, truth, and consequences. Exciting yet thoughtful conversation. Monologue, dialogue, dynamic guest, interviews. Most importantly, you, the listening audience. Live chat. Soon coming will be live call-in as we grow. Here at the last stop, we follow proven mathematical steps to its logical, biological, natural, commonsensical conclusion. Like 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? We all learn like that. So Dems, Repubs, Christians, Jews, Muslim, Hindu, and hoodoo, why must we compete when we all say that we believe in peace? Well, all right now, unbuckle your seatbelts. You have arrived at the last stop. I'm your host and conductor, Mansa Bey. I had to play this interview, mostly in full. Undeniable truth of that former president, Barack Hussein Obama, colluded with the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the Department of Justice, along with General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in treason. Do your research, take notes, satisfy your own intellect to the truth about what you're about to receive.
All right, General Flynn is our guest. He's a friend of the intelligence agency, former top national security advisor to President Trump, advisor. Is here to give us a threat assessment on the real current state of things and what he thinks is most important front and center. He's with us for about 20 minutes, generalflynn.com. So General Michael Flynn, thank you so much for being here. You've got the floor.
Thanks so much for having me, Alex, and everything that you continue to do and report on. I mean, it's amazing how visionary you really are. So where are we? Where is the United States of America right now? And, you know, we have, I'm not sure if Hakeem Jeffries has shut up yet, but we'll have the big, beautiful bill, and that'll get signed off here by the President of the United States shortly. And that'll continue to move our economy in the direction that I think that Trump wants to move. And, you know, one of the big things this summer, of course, is the price of a gallon of gas, the price of a gallon of milk, the price of a dozen eggs. So all that matters to the American people. But what also matters to the American people, and I know this because I'm getting it in spades, and I hear it because I pay very close attention to the various news conferences and news conferences that both Trump do is being done from the White House press room, and that's this issue of accountability. So yesterday, and I think it's I think you've reported on it, and it's floating around the internet right now. Is this declassified document about Russiagate? And I've known this; everybody knows, but now there's stark evidence. There you go. There is stark evidence. Brennan, Comey, Clapper, right? And
now, do you see that right there? As this huge CIA Director Ratcliffe finds Obama administration, as Brennan, Comey, and Clapper conceived the Trump-Russia collusion hoax as a political weapon against the Make America Great Again. This is huge. This is the CIA. And this is what they have found.
And these three, you know, stooges, these three hoodlums, these guys, the whole thing was made up. It was made up to help Hillary Clinton win. And in fact, part of that said that actually Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win. They actually favored her to win. So that document's out. There's another document that didn't get a lot of reporting, and that's the document by Senator Grassley. I think he released a couple of weeks ago about foreign interference in our elections, particularly precisely China, but China, Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, Iran, where the U.S. intelligence community was aware of all this during the 2020 election. So we've known that. So how much more do we know that the U.S. intelligence community is hiding from the American people? This particular document that you're rifling through right there, Alex, is such a staggering display of criminal behavior by the most senior officials in the U.S. government under Barack Obama. Okay? And
now, you talk about the deep state and the swamp, and how this is how and why it was so difficult. This is why it was so difficult to get to this thing, because these were the actual top of the echelon who were the corrupt parties. But we knew this, but there was no proof, and they could cover it all by saying this is all conspiracy theory and all that kind of stuff. But now, the new CIA director, Ratcliffe, has uncovered all of these things, plus with the document of the senator, that with absolute proof that this was concocted and it is so treasonous. But let's get back to the General Flynn, because this was the man that Comey went after first thing when President Trump was first elected. And he admitted that he sent some agents over there because he wanted to try to get them before they got settled down. Because this man Flynn, this General Flynn, he was on the top of his game, and he knew where the bones were and all that kind of stuff. So that's why they had to get rid of him first.
We now know, because during my case we brought it out, before my case was dismissed, we fought tooth and nail. Yeah, these are acts of treason, exactly. So the 5th, and I'll go back to this, the 5th of January of 2017 was a very famous meeting, which we now know we have all the evidence of, with there's probably some redacted items that are still remaining, but we have enough evidence of the 5th of January 2017 meeting in the Oval Office, run by Barack Obama and his soldiers, right? Those three, Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, were three among a couple others. Yates and Susan Rice were two others. And that's the meeting that they conspired to basically undermine a duly elected president of the United States. And the person that they talked about getting rid of first was yours truly. That was the 5th of January, 2017. The 6th of January, that particular report was presented, what that report is talking about, that report was presented to Donald J. Trump and his incoming national security team the very next day up at Trump Tower, 6 January 2017. So here they are in the Oval Office on the 5th of January, and they are conspiring to basically undermine and overthrow the presidency of the United States of America. And then the 6th of January was the day that they then met to lie to the incoming administration, particularly to President Trump, about a whole series of things. And those series of things are highlighted in this particular.
All right, General Flynn, stay there. You will continue to have the floor. But the takeaway here is, you're absolutely right. General Flynn is saying we need immediate Justice Department action for treason, total proof with the exhibits of the coup against America.
I mean, this is what they call breaking news. This is why I listen to various internet outlets, I guess. I don't want to call Alex Jones the InfoWars a podcast, because they're just so much more. It's more than a podcast. I mean, they are basically next year's news today. Next week's news was last week. Again, we have known this stuff for years now, but we didn't have the power to get behind the curtain, so to speak. Well, now the power is there, and we have gotten behind. They have gotten behind the curtain, and they pulled the curtain back now, and now we see the Wizard of Oz's. Barack Hussein Obama. I know that many of my family and black people just are so in love with Obama. You know, he was like, Jesus before George Floyd was a Jesus. Well, go figure that one. But anyway, well, both of them were corrupt criminals, it turns out. And that popped in my mind about how that when the righteous man was on the cross, Jesus, that the people, they selected Barnabas, the crook, the criminal. They voted to crucify the good man and to save the criminal. I pray to you, my family, and those who have happened across the last stop. Yes, this is the last stop. And I am your host and conductor, Mansa Bay, AM.
Augmented, of course, with a report from a month ago by the Director of National Intelligence with the documents that the entire Russiagate attempted coup against America and the impeachments and all of it and the targeting first of Flynn, who understood what was happening, was an illegal operation by the Obama administration set up before they left with stay-behind networks.
See, that's what I was saying earlier. You know, they had to get Flynn first because, he was up on it, and he was the Donald Trump's national security advisor. So he couldn't advise him if they hooked up a fake perjury thing on him and bankrupted him, actually, all the way up until then they dismissed the case. I mean, this is but it is so revealing. So I'm just thankful that this has been revealed now and it's coming out just like it's
CIA
coming out.
Director Ratcliffe finds Obama admins Brennan, Comey, and Clapper conceived the Trump-Russiagate collusion hoax as political weapon against MAGA and the American people. We've shown you the report, and General Flynn just joined us. Some stations don't carry the first five. He essentially said, I'd like to hear it in his own words, that Trump overall's doing a great job, big, beautiful bill, that's all important for the economy, but now there's no doubt, it's all certified, it's all confirmed, we all lived it, we already knew it, but now it's done. We must see immediate indictments, immediate arrest, and the entire House of Cards, when Brennan, Comey, and Clapper are indicted, which I've been told by Iowa Justice Department, they're lining up, will fall, all their minions will run like roaches for the exits. But it must be done. General Flynn, in your own words, this is the call to arms in the information war peacefully. You're absolutely right. This must be done. This is the duty of Trump, which we know he wants. This is the duty of the Justice Department. And if it's not done very soon, what do we then do? You have the floor, sir, to unpack first the level of treason, as you said earlier, we're dealing with, and what must be done.
Yeah. So first of all, Alex, we're at war. We're at war with a very intrusive component of our federal government and some of the other institutions. And this is a Marxist takeover, and these people have not quit. It started with Barack Obama. They wanted Hillary Clinton desperately. Trump won. They stole the election in 2020. Trump, thank God, survived an assassin's bullet to his head, and he's now the president, and he's doing some amazing things. But this nation, and I want everybody to understand that this is a Marxist revolution that is ongoing in our country and has been for a long time. So Trump, and another aspect of the presidency, the President of the United States is the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, and he is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the country, not the Attorney General of the United States, okay? The President is.
Okay.
The President has extraordinary national emergency powers, national security authorities that he can exercise. And I can tell you, with this report, with what Senator Grassley put out about elections and the intrusion of our elections by foreign adversaries and others that were supporting them inside of this country, and what we now know of what they try to, sort of pull the wool over our eyes with the head of the CIA, the head of the National Intelligence Directorate, and the head of the FBI Those three alone, never mind a few others, we now must demand accountability. And I can tell you, just looking at the last 24 hours, and I put something out a couple of days ago, and I've actually said this on your show before. The people that they need to go after, they need to go after some of these guys right now, and I mean like today and tonight.
You said a year ago, you said a month ago, you said Brennan, Clapper, and Comey are the kingpins. You get them, the whole thing falls, and now it's in the report.
Yeah, and exactly, and you know, and like I said, you go pick up Jim Clapper. So Cash Patel, go pick up Jim Clapper, take him on a long ride to wherever he's going to be questioned, and I guarantee during that ride he will spill his guts because Jim Clapper does not want to go to jail. He's an older gentleman. You know, he's like probably 80, 81 years old. He doesn't want to go to jail for the rest of his life. And the other thing is Brennan, Comey, and Clapper. Those three amigos, they're soldiers. Okay, they're soldiers in this takeover of America. The kingpins here are people like Barack Obama and others who are part of this globalist component, and they're internal to this country. There are some of the large CEOs, if you will, and certainly the overseas component of the globalist cabal led by people the likes of like Soros, as an example. So
now, see, you got to remember also too. See, Obama never left Washington D.C. No, he set up basically another White House down the street. Yes, just do some research. Just do a little bit of research, and it all bears witness to itself. That's the beauty of truth. Truth bears witness to itself. You have to tell a lie over and over and over and over again, but the truth will bear witness to itself.
These three, though, were soldiers, and they were executing what they were told to execute, which is basically to undermine. Once Trump won in 2016, we are not going to let this guy, have a day to breathe. Undermine him, get rid of him. And they wanted him out before the election. They wanted him out. Once he won, they wanted him out immediately with the likes of Rosenstein, who was the acting attorney general at the time, trying to run the 25th Amendment on Trump. I mean, so many things that we have got to go back and look at.
And General, just to briefly interrupt, because you're so on target here, for people that don't know about Grassley's report and all the documents he got from whistleblowers and others, it's exactly what you and I said 4.5 years ago at the time, what came out, the Chinese whistleblowers, the ballots floated on private planes, in the key battle around stealing it, the Chinese nationals driving the cars in at 2 a.m. in Michigan and other Pennsylvania, and the postal drivers finding it, reporting it, FBI threatening them.
Yeah, you see it right here in Detroit. See, right here in Detroit. That was going down.
Reported it then being shut down. This is total proof of high treason with the Democratic Party, with their own operatives of the intelligence agencies and DOJ, working to steal the election using the power and force of our main adversary, the Communist Chinese. I mean, look, we know the penalty for this is open and shut, and they need to get fair trials, and then they need to be hung in public.
Ooh.
So this is very, very serious time for America, and Trump is in a really powerful position, not only the presidency
North
of the
Carolina.
United States of America, but the mandate that he was given in a very historic victory. We haven't had that many presidents that were president and then there was a break and then they were president again. I think it's only been twice in our history. And that's because the American people, they felt like something was stolen from us. And it was. Our country was like an attempted robbery of the United States of America by the Marxist left in this country, okay?
Well, there was a kidnapping, General, for 4 years. They got control.
Yeah.
We pushed them back out. So this is a tug of war.
It's huge. And so Trump right now, with a Congress that should be behind him, they're not totally behind him, this uniparty that's sitting in Congress, right? He won the Republican House, the Republican Senate. He's got 3 appointees in the Supreme Court. Say what we want about them, but Trump is in a really, really powerful position. He's 6 months into the job of his second term, and he needs to really start taking action. This bill, gets signed, it's going to skyrocket the economy. I think is going to really move quickly here, and I think that Trump has got a good plan for that. But what I want to tell him is I want to tell President Trump that, and he understands this. Trust me, he understands this. He's got to get the people around him to understand it even more and then now to act. But we are at war. We are in a wartime situation
right
here at home. And, you know, you can go back to one of our founders, John Jay, in Federalist Paper 2 and 3. He addressed the greatest threat to America, and I'll paraphrase, the greatest threat to America won't be from a foreign adversary. It'll be from subversion inside of our own country. And that's where we are today, almost 250 years later, right? 249 years later. We have subversion from the highest elements of our United States intelligence and security apparatuses, right? The leaders of those organizations were subverting, and they were doing it on behalf of a president of the United States.
Wow.
And that was in name is Barack Obama. So Trump has got to get his team together and say, okay, folks, what do we want to do? What are we going to do? What steps are we going to do? And the most important person in that room is probably Pam Bondi. You know, if she's got the wherewithal to be able to do this, you know, we don't need any more talk on any of these news channels anymore. What we need action. I would like to know, as an American and as somebody that has been through hell and back, I want to know, is there an investigation ongoing against these people? That's not giving away the farm. Just tell the American people what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't, we're going to stop believing anything you say. And we're going to continue to have that truth, you know, continue to be just, you know, going away, just dissipating. Because right now, and trust, you know, the idea of trust in our institutions is something that we want desperately. The American people want to trust our institutions desperately, but we do not. And that trust will continue to erode if we aren't told that we are taking the following actions. This report that just came out is so egregious. It is an attack on our country. It shows a usurpation, an insidiousness inside of our nation that totally against the Constitution, totally against the rule of law, to undermine our country. And I don't want to hear anything about, well, statute of limitations. I mean, we should be talking about, you know, treason. Trump said something the other day, and I don't know how much time I got. I'll finish with this, Alex.
No, please, sir. You got as much time as you want. We're not going to break for 12 minutes. You can stay.
So Trump said something the other day, yesterday, I think, down at his Alligator Alcatraz there, right? And somebody asked him about Mayorkas. Somebody asked him about whether or not Mayorkas is going to be, you know, indicted for letting in all these illegals, right? Is something happen? Trump said, well, you know, I think he was pardoned. You know, was he pardoned? He asked one of his guys, was he pardoned? And they didn't know. They should know. They should know if Mayorkas, a cabinet secretary level under Biden, was he pardoned or not? Somebody on his team ought to know that right then and there. But they didn't know. So Trump says, you know, well, maybe he was just following orders. Well, so weren't the generals and the SS during World War II. And guess what happened? What happened after World War II was something called the Nuremberg trials, okay? So I don't know if we have to go that far. Although I will tell you, I don't want to hear that, well, somebody was just following orders. If Mayorkas was following the orders of somebody and he allowed 20 million in during his watch, that's a problem. You can't take a pass here, folks, about you were following orders. So Brennan, Comey, and Clapper, if you're going to sit there and say, well, I was following the orders. Okay, well, who were you following the orders of?
Right.
You following the orders of Barack Obama? I mean, this is now where we have to, you know, the old rubber meets the road, right? Now that it's the nut cutting time. And we have got to come to grips with the fact that this country there was an attempted coup d'etat of this country, and our military industrial security state complexes were part of it. And they were led by people like Barack Obama, a sitting president at the time.
And that's when it started against you and Trump in America, but then by 2020,
exactly,
with a consortium of China, Venezuela, and others on record, they did it. Senate reports for the documents. So this is so documented, massive. You've been targeted, I've been targeted, tens of thousands of other Americans openly, and we have to understand that this is Trump's duty. He wants it. He has said that you take action, but everybody has to understand, Pam Bondi, everybody else, if they ever get back in and if they don't get prosecuted, we don't take down this deep state infrastructure, no one is safe. So this must be done. We have victory right in our hands. We have it open and shut, and all they have to do is understand that these are treasonous criminals, open and shut, under the direction of Obama, and they must be moved against immediately. General Flynn, I know you advise the president, and I see him out everywhere saying, no, they need to be indicted. And I don't think Van Bondi's a bad person, but we don't see Epstein prosecutions, 14 terabytes of children being raped. She confirms that they found hidden in New York. You got Comey's daughter doing the cover-ups. I mean, this just has to be done. If you were the president, a special prosecutor, that takes too long. I mean, Trump does a address from the White House and exposes this treason. I mean, what needs to be done here?
I would pull my team in. If I was him, I would recommend to him. And I would pull that team together and I'd pull them all in, all of them. You know, the close, trusted personal advisors he has, and I would say something along the lines of, look, we just crushed the Iranian nuclear program and set them back 10 years, let's say. What I want this team to do is I want this team to crush the deep state, just like we just crushed the Iranian nuclear program. But I want the setback to be forever. So we have got to come up with some ideas right now to massively shut down, agencies, organizations, maybe whole departments, get rid of a whole bunch of people, and we also have to, and I would be looking right at my Attorney General and probably at the Director of National Intelligence and saying, you two work together, because I guarantee there's an awful lot of stuff on classified systems of communications that were affected on what we call JWIC, CWE, CIPRNet. Now, those are some of the classified systems. And I would direct both of those individuals to come to me with a plan, I'd give them maybe 72 hours, and I'd say, I want a plan for an investigation, and then I want to see some indictments. And I want to see some people brought in for questioning right now. There's enough in this document, Alex, for just to bring people in to question them. I mean, some of the intelligence analysts that are addressed in there that are not by name, we can find out who their names are. Bring them in. We have, and I would be looking right at Pam Bondi in this, because I will tell you, because I'm not going to let it go. Not going to let it go. Sorry, they picked the wrong Irishman here. I am not going to let this go. We cannot continue on as a constitutional republic based on a rule of law. We cannot continue on with this country. I don't care how good Trump changes the economy, and he will. We cannot continue on if we don't have accountability. That's something that our founders taught us. They taught us two things: courage, and they taught us accountability, because they held themselves to account for every one of their words and every one of their actions while they formed this country. And now it's time for our as we approach our 250th year anniversary, if we want 250 more years, we better start holding people accountable who were trying to undermine our very Constitution. And that's tyranny, that's barbarism if you want to call it, but it's definitely tyranny at its finest. And I hate to even say it like that, but that's what I would direct.
This is thoroughbred tyranny. So in closing, and I appreciate the time, I've got a few minutes left, about 4 minutes, sir. I know you got to go as well, but this is so important. This is one of the most important things I've ever said on my broadcast, 31 years. We are at that moment, and it's not just the right thing to do. It's not just integrity. It's these enemies are going to clamp down even harder if they ever get back in. They literally sold us out to China to steal the 2020 election. That's in the Senate report. We already knew that. We already researched it. We already had the proof, but here it is. We have them starting the coup in 2016, all the impeachments, and this is about existential threat, particularly for you and I and Trump, and they know they're in checkmate. That's why Hakeem Jeffries and Carville are all saying Trump's about to declare martial law. Trump's a dictator. No, they brought us into the lawless chaos. They did all this. This must be done now. You can't leave the threat there embedded. You've got to go at the head immediately. And anybody advising Trump to be scared of arresting these people, there will be celebrations in the streets. It will supercharge everything. The house of cards will fall. But if we hesitate at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, we have signed this country's death warrant. General Flynn, 3 minutes of closing comments. Thank you so much.
So there's a phrase, he who hesitates is lost, right? what they said, and from the Marxist side of their argument, what they say about us is what they will do. So what they say that doing or we will do is they will do, and they've already demonstrated that these last 4 years, trying to not only imprison a former president of the United States, now current president, but also to kill the president, to assassinate him, not once, twice. And there are other threats that were out there that the president and his security team. So these people are very, very dangerous. They're very dangerous. And I know that Trump wants to use the full weight of the Constitution and the rule of law to do so. But the president of the United States also has other powers. He's got national security powers. He's got national powers that he can take. You know, his team, he needs to ask for this right now. He needs to ask for a full accounting of the authorities that he has, and they can go back and give him historical precedent for presidents that had to do, you know, emergency level, because the president is the only person that takes the oath of office with the word preserve. Only person. Everybody else just says protect and defend. The president of the United States, when he puts his hand on the Bible, he used in his oath of office, and it's to preserve the Constitution of the United States of America.
He is the guardian. He is the only one invested with it.
He's the only one that responsibility vested in him by the American people. You know, by the majority of the American people, is how our system functions as a constitutional republic based on an effective and functioning rule of law that is fair and equal to all.
To preserve the Constitution. It was just ripped up under Obama. You know, they just ripped it up. To preserve the Constitution. Man, and what did General Flynn just say? He said that this a constitutional republic. That means it's governed by laws.
Vested with it.
He's the only one that has that responsibility vested in him by the American people. You know, by the majority of the American people, is how our system functions as a constitutional republic based on an effective and functioning rule of law that is fair and equal to all. You know, not to the left only, right? Which is what we learned during Russiagate and what we learned during the last 4 years. You know, and I mean, Trump still knows that when he comes out of the presidency, President Trump, when you come out of the presidency, you still have a conviction hanging over your head up in New York. These people are not going to let that go. This is good versus evil. This is good versus evil. And we better understand right now that if we don't take the evidence, if we don't take the information that we are getting, and the American people are standing there like me right now, we're standing or we're sitting and we're saying, please, Mr. President, take action. We are giving you that authority as the people of this country. I don't give a shit what MSNBC or some of these other media outlets, whatever these other media outlets, I don't care what they say or what the talking heads say. They do not represent the majority of Americans who voted not only for the presidency of the United States, but also for the House of Representatives, also for the U.S. Senate. I mean, we have the majority. Let's take advantage of it while we can, because if we don't, and I know this for a fact for me, I mean, they're after me, you know, 6 ways, like Chuck Schumer says, 6 ways to Sunday, right?
Exactly. So what you're saying is, bottom line, General.
President Trump as well. So I'll finish there.
Oh, thank you, sir. I just want to say the last note we have. It was William Shakespeare wrote his famous play based on, you know, Julius Caesar, and the quote is, "There's a tide of the affairs of men when taken to the flood leads on to fortune." Our fortune is preserving and relaunching the republic. It's 250th anniversary, greater than ever. God gave us this shot, but God is now wanting us to do this, and it must happen. And you're raising, all the listeners have to raise the alarm. They have to take this live feed and take this once we archive it to X and share it. It needs to get 100 million views, and you're absolutely right. We have the total proof. You were patient zero, the first they came for, because you were a loyal, real American who understood it. We are always indebted to General Flynn, generalflynn.com. Thank you for the urgency. We must take action. God bless you, and God bless our republic on the eve of our anniversary of the birth of our great nation. And thank you, sir.
Exactly. Happy Independence Day. Thank you.
God bless you.
You see, you heard General Flynn say, this is a constitutional republic. You didn't hear nothing about no democracy. No. And I had to let that play because the information was so critical and so powerful and so right and exact. Again, this is the last stop. This is where you're going to get this kind of information from, family. Something that you can, you got some meat to it, that you get to know what you're talking about. You got to know what you're even thinking, because the propaganda is so heavy, so thick, that you really have to have something firm to hold on to, and know that it's firm, that you're holding on to that which is the truth, not his truth, her truth, or whatever truth. I'm talking about the truth, the actual facts of situation, circumstance. This is what we have to go by. I'm your host and conductor, Mansa Bay AM, and this is the last stop. Living with reality, truth, and consequences. Oh boy, I tell you, I'm so happy on the day to have this wonderful information that has come out to us, This was just a few days ago, the 3rd of July when this came out. And now we are celebrating the 4th of July. One, as the American nation, they are celebrating their independence. And we, in the Nation of Islam, are also celebrating our independence. Thanks be to Master Fard Muhammad. Yes. Who came and declared our independence and gave us a flag. Yes, so that we can be a sovereign nation. We are a nation within a nation. You know this. You know this. It ain't like you don't know this, but why are you fighting this? Stop fighting your salvation. Because America is going to do what America is going to do. I appreciate the opportunity to live the life that we live here in America. This is the only country in the world that we can do what we're doing right now. We can have the freedom of speech right now. But it's being slowly squeezed away and taken from us because you have these criminals upon who want to maintain complete power. I remember Obama telling the Africans that they couldn't have air conditioning because the planet was going to boil over. I remember a former vice president, he talking about the oceans was boiling over, boiling and up. The ice caps would be gone back in 2012. Just lying disaster after lying disaster to keep our minds occupied on illusionary objects. We've got to let go.
Any hesitation, it's over. We must take action now.
I'm going to keep this rolling here because when Alex did come back, he came back with some more strong stuff.
And I'm a very measured person when it comes to action.
There
is a knife at the throat of our children. There's a satanic, evil global government literally attempting to start total nuclear war. You see General Flynn, a highly decorated combat veteran, a real general, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency that has defended us against China and Russia and many others in the real war. and things that most people will never even know anything about. And he's saying that this is do or die time. Absolute proof. We heard you say this 8.5 years ago. Yeah, we already knew all this. We already had the pieces. We experienced it. And we had different pieces of it from the whistleblowers and Congress and news and all of it. And I already understood the stay-behind networks and what Obama set up the legislation and the Defense Authorization Act to pay for his shadow government and do this to Trump. Because New York Times...
Now, I realize that a lot of you, y'all don't like Alex Jones. Why? I don't know. I really don't know why, and you probably don't know why yourself. Send me a comment. Tell me why you don't like Alex Jones. He's got a loud voice. Well, he's been talking for many, many years. Do some research on this man, and you'll find that he's been battling righteous causes since he was a young man. And that is my opinion, but that comes from informed research. It's not just I'm just looking at something I don't like him because he just looked funny. No. No, I research his works. You judge a person by their works. But anyway, he's still speaking some powerful words here, so I want to let him continue here.
Articles in January of 2017 saying the CIA is running secret operations against Trump to discredit him with Russiagate. Jones is crazy. The intelligence agencies aren't involved. Well, the hell they weren't. I had people in the agencies telling me what they were doing who were on our side. I'll just leave it at that. We had the DEA give us secret documents because they have access to NSA, and I gave it to Trump. Because they're like, we try to get it to Trump, we give it to his people, they don't give it to him. It's not that I'm that cool or that smart. I'm willing to do stuff that they come after you for. You heard Flynn, they pissed off the wrong Irishman. I don't know how this is going to end, but I don't roll over to this stuff. So they want to fight, they got one. That's why I try to explain to listeners. This isn't a regular show where you just cover the news and, what's interesting, and no, this is a war.
That's what I said earlier, remember? Yeah.
And that's why one of the greatest things I count in my life, beyond my relationship with God and integrity of my family, my children, my friends, is my enemies. World War II, they didn't have radar in the field. It had been invented, but England had it limited when the German bombers were coming in during the Blitz. But the bomber pilots, like my grandfather.
So, that being said, Alex Jones called himself the tip of the spear, and that's what the story he's going off into right now, called the tip of the spear. They didn't have radar back in the World War II and World War I, and only way they know where the target was because the enemy would be shooting their flak up, and then the pilots would zero in on where it was coming from, and then they would go in there after it, flying into the heat of the battle, flying into the fire. Well, that's the tip of the spear action that Alex Jones represents.
All right. These people think we're like them. They're not out looking for a frontal fight. They want to creep around in the dark. So the bill's passed. We got Johnson speaking. We paused it. We'll go to it in a minute, but listen to me carefully. Brennan, Clapper, Comey are the house of cards. I totally agree with Flynn. You grab Clapper, he's the weak link. You got total proof in major election meddling, major fraud, espionage, working with foreign governments.
And treason, don't
All
leave
we
out.
need is Pam Bondi and Tell
To do their
job.
So,
Not try to play patty cake with the system and slow roll this.
Senator Grassley.
And if you didn't want to go to war with the New World Order, Cash Patel and Pam Bondi, then you shouldn't have stepped into this.
Okay.
can tell you, I smell nothing but victory. It'll be rough for those of us at the tip of the spear. And I want to tell people like Cash Patel and Pam Bondi something. You shouldn't be worried about the globalists. They're going to fail now no matter what. The only question is how fast. You should be concerned about empowering them to think they can try another Trump assassination or try to steal another election. Because if you look at the different scenarios with that, it could turn into civil war very quickly. The safest thing to do, the right thing to do,
that's what they're looking for.
Is to do what's right and to...
You know, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for civil war because they need war. Why do they need war? Because of the economy, for one thing, as well. All the theft that has been going on through these so-called non-governmental organizations. This USAID, the United States Aid for, what is it? USAID, International Development. It's nothing but a money laundering slush fund. I mean, if you need some money to do something for America, say build a bridge that was tore down in the harbor a few years back, it's got to go through this, go through that. But if Zelensky needs some billions of dollars for Ukraine, or if Israel, Netanyahu needs some billions of dollars for over there in Israel, it's just like, oh, boom, it's just here, yeah, 30 billion, 10 billion, 5 billion, just go. Earlier, I heard one of the Info Warriors say that if we don't want our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, hanging from some wire for some post somewhere, as an example, from one of these cartels, we better get on the stick and unite, family. Unite in truth, with justice. You say you love the Bible? Well, start living the principles of it. Don't tell me that you don't show me now, as I accept the challenge to show you as well. This is the last stop. I'm your host and conductor, Mansa Bay AM. I hope that you've enjoyed this expose. Take it and share it. I don't want to get involved in no politics. Well, if you don't want to get involved in what controls your life, then I guess to hell with you. But those who are willing to accept the challenge of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you all.